Sorry, I'm watching, but anyway, no. Ignore it.
Just ignore it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to talk to it for a second.
Sure.
And
Yes.
So today I am in sunny Launceston, and I am very happy and very pleased, thank you very much Ella, to introduce you all to an amazing woman, Ella Dixon. Ella Dixon is the CEO of the Migrant Resource Centre, Northern Tasmania, and she is one of the quiet, outstanding women who I've been searching for as part of this little project. This is actually the first time Ella and I have met face to face, and through mutual colleagues of ours, I was informed of the amazing things that Ella has been doing in her community. She, in addition to being the CEO of this amazing organisation, she is also just recently stepped off the board of the Royal Guide Dogs of Tasmania, currently sits on the board of Relationships Australia, the Tasmanian division. She also sits on, make sure I get it right, the, where did I write it? Community Advisory Council of the, would it be the Tasmanian Health Service?
Correct.
In the north,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And previously in past roles, she's worked in policy, strategic management and community at Launceston City Council and the Circular Head Council, and a wonderful background of work experiences and life experiences. And we were only just chatting before, you also came to Australia when you were just 11 years old from the Philippines.
That's correct.
Yes,
Yes.
we were just sharing a little bit of similarity in stories with my husband, who also came over when he was young as well to the northwest coast and made a life for himself up there. So thank you very much, Ella, for your time.
Thank you.
I think people will be very interested in hearing about you and what you've been doing and some of your perspectives on success and your leadership and your experiences to date.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just hand to you.
Okay.
If you just want to share with everybody, maybe just a little bit of background, perhaps how you sort of perhaps ended up here as the CEO of the Migrant Resource Centre.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ellie. Thanks for this opportunity. Okay, so in a nutshell, I guess I could say I was born in the Philippines, and when I was 11, my family moved to Tasmania to be in a farming community called Circular Head, which was really great. My grandfather's Spanish and my grandmother's part Chinese, so we're kind of a bit of a mix of heritage, which has been, again, I think part of the amazing thing that I experienced as a human being and as a woman in Australia who came from overseas. I guess, like many migrants, we moved to Australia for a better life. So my mum came over and we started a new life in 1981 in a very small town. So we came from a very metropolitan city of Manila with back then a population of 11 million people. When we arrived in Smithton, the population was about 7,500.
Wow.
And
It's a big change.
I still recall the first day we thought we were going to the city, we were going to town, and I walked along the street and I said to my stepdad now, where is the cinema? Where is the mall? And there wasn't any such thing, of course, in Smithton back then. So there was a fairly big culture shock for us. There was only one school, and we went to one high school. There was only one of everything in Smithton, which is quite an unusual thing for us, a very big culture shock for both my sister and I and my mum. In terms of how I got here, I left Smithton pretty much straight after grade 10. Like many people in regional and rural communities in Tasmania, you have to move to do grade 11 and 12. I think now there is a grade 11 and 12 there, but at the time my sister and I moved to Burnie to go to Helley College. And then I would have a gap year that would last over a decade. I had actually been already accepted to law school, and I said to Mum, I'm so sick of school, please let me have a break. Yeah. And I did, and I never became a lawyer, which is good, because I think that when we did work experience in grade 12, I discovered something about law that I didn't like in particular. And I thought, I don't really want to do that as a job. So I went out and did other things, moved to New South Wales, came back to Tasmania. Yeah. And that's probably where my work in community development started. So I worked for a business enterprise centre, then the local government, and it was in that role really through the business enterprise centre and local government that I got exposed to a whole range of other experiences that I wouldn't have had if I stayed in private practice, in private sector. So things like chambers of commerce, tourism association, childcare centres, play groups, a whole raft of things that I think is just brilliant in a small community. When you work for a small organisation in a small community, you do get exposed to a lot more, I think, than you would in a bigger organisation.
Absolutely.
So, and then lifestyle change, life cycle issue, moved to Launceston. And then I enrolled at uni, so as a mature age student, which took me 7 years to complete. So in 2007, which is the same year I remarried, I graduated with a master's in regional development.
Fantastic.
And this has really been my home ever since.
Yep. So when the position must have been advertised at one point, did you look at it and go, yes, like I would really like that job?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did a couple of years, before even this time around. I did look at it when it became vacant, but I thought, I have a really young family. I've got I seen my kids still needed me at home. My daughter was still at high school. I didn't think I could take on a CEO role and be fully committed to it and spend time with family like I wanted to. So I let it go at that time. But this time around, I thought the timing might be right. I've got a bit of a grand plan as to where I wanted to be before I turned 50. And being a CEO of a not-for-profit was one of those optional, one of those goals I could possibly lead into. And I thought, well, why not? So I applied and got it.
One of the things that I guess people would be thinking about is that because you are an immigrant, this would be the role that you would want.
Yes, I get what you mean.
Yeah,
yes. No, I mean, I think
yeah.
it's a good fit. Most people, a lot of my friends have said, what a perfect dog for you.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yes,
like
yes,
people would say,
yes, yes,
oh, well,
yes.
Yeah, as you say, perfect.
Yes.
Yes. Is that how you sort of feel about it, or you don't? Or I guess what some people are saying is that it's almost like if it is the perfect job for you, you're very much defining yourself as an immigrant, and
Yes.
So it's like the perfect fit, but.
I don't think it's perfect because I'm a migrant. I think it's perfect because I get to use all these range of skills that I've acquired throughout my life, and also that empathy thing, but not primarily because I'm a migrant. It's very rare. I often tell people that I've met for the first time that I don't think about me not being Asian or non-Australian until somebody reminds me. So it's not what defines me. I think when I was preparing for this interview, I was looking at my life and my career, and I thought I'd probably always been breaking the glass ceiling, and also what's now being termed as the bamboo ceiling.
I have heard that.
Yes.
Particularly.
Yes.
As my husband, being Asian and being a lawyer, they talk about it a lot in law.
Yes.
About the bamboo ceiling.
Absolutely. And I think I consider my mum, for example, as the first generation of my family, and I'm the second generation. I definitely think for people, the children of the first generation, find it easier to crack those ceilings. But I think I'm quite proud actually when I was looking, I think, oh wow, I have. I was managing people at the age of 22. I was in leadership roles from high school. I excelled in academia, except for maths and science, but in all the humanities that was fine.
Yes.
And I've always, even if I start at entry level, I always found myself in supervisory and management roles. So I think I never thought about it. It's a bit like me not thinking about I don't have white skin. I don't think about being a migrant or being a woman as a barrier to achieving what I want to achieve.
I have a quote here from you that I took from one of the articles that was written about you.
Yeah.
It's up to us individually to empower ourselves to go for our dreams and don't let gender or race get in our way.
Correct. Yes.
So what you're just saying then kind of encapsulates that
Oh,
comment.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
The question that comes to mind is that you mentioned before about your decision to take this role. You wanted to wait till the time was right.
Yes.
You wanted to be at home with your children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a common response for a lot of women.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people who are waving the flag for women would be saying, how do we get Ella in there before when her children, because that would be arguably the scenario for the man. He would be there when his kids are that young. So how do we get around, or do we even need to? Like, is it just something we just we accept. You know what I mean? Like that.
I do. It's almost a choice. I mean, I always worked. Apart from the time that I studied part-time while I was doing uni, I always worked. It's more like the kind of work that I did. So I didn't want to be in the office at 6:30 every night and be working on Sunday. So that's not the life I wanted for my family. And I think it's unfair. And so it's a personal choice. I don't know that society would have been able to change my mind and say, Ella, be a CEO at 30.
Yeah.
I don't think, because I would have said I'm not ready, and I wouldn't have had the skills. I don't think I was equipped at that age. So it's always part of, you building up these skills, and at the same time your life stage might all line up and you get there. And I think, again, it's different for every person.
When perhaps eventually you do leave,
Yes.
and you're sitting back reflecting on your tapestry of life, how do you think you'd like to be remembered?
I have thought about this as well. I'm thinking, what is success? Once upon a time I would have thought it was success would be in a role somewhere, being respected by influential people, prominent people, being accepted in social circles. Once upon a time I would have thought that was success. But I think now, again, older and wiser, tells me that success is really about having harmonious relationships, being satisfied with what you do, and also something to look forward to. So 3 things I say to my kids is something to look forward to, somebody to love, and something worthwhile doing. And I think that's, I can look at things differently and overturn them, but at the end of the day, I think that's what defines success. Because we all die, and nobody will remember us, because everybody that sees us in this current form will no longer be around. Yes.
Finding a supportive partner. I think you mentioned that before.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's been mentioned a couple of times by people around the ability for them to be able to invest in the passions that they like is having a partner out there. So just tell me a little bit about how that's influenced you and how you've been able to do.
Well, having a supportive partner means that you can sometimes get home late. Somebody will take care of dinner, and somebody will bring up the cleaner to come at a certain time and whatever. And it means also that it's somebody who understands your workload. I think I mentioned before that this is I'm a second timer, and this time around my partner understands the work that I do. He's also in the professional field, and he knows the workload that's associated with a role like this one. Whereas previously, perhaps, we were younger and didn't know any better. But having that, it's really interesting. It's having even the intellectual conversations at night. How was your day? And actually somebody really genuinely interested in what you've done today and what challenges you're facing. Someone to bounce ideas off. And one of my really great friends said, you need to marry somebody that you never get sick of talking to. And that's what I have. Somebody that I can bore him to tears, but he'll never look at me and say I'm bored. He's very nice. He's lovely, and I do the same. And I've supported him through his second degree. I get that. So I think being compatible helps.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to talk to somebody who doesn't understand what you're doing and who doesn't take an interest, or if you're poles apart. They say that opposites attract, and that's probably right. But I think if you are an evolved person, you will be looking for that somewhere along the line. Yeah.
You mentioned before about your own leadership styles around making sure people, know that you care, and
yes.
You then thinking about the sorts of leaders that you've had before. What would be a couple of things that have stood out for you that have made them good leaders in your mind?
I think, again, I've been very fortunate in many managers that I've worked with. One of the real standout ones, this is really something really simple. I worked with a manager who would go around all the staff, and there was a staff of 30 people, and said good morning to everybody every day. And that he would do that on Mondays and also towards the end of the week. I do that here. In my first 6 months, I did that religiously, that I went around and talked to people, learned about what they were doing, and also got to learn a little bit about their personal lives. So that's a standout. Not everybody, unfortunately, gets that chance to be inspired by a leader. And that guy who would go around saying hello to everybody, that didn't dawn on me until I took on this role that, wow, I'm going to do that because that actually did matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is where we shout out to Craig Martin if you're watching, who does exactly the same thing, and very well known for hearing before he actually gets there.
It is so simple.
Yeah.
People love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I work on the basis that the only currency that really matters is relationships. So I work really hard on, in every aspect of my life, work and personal, family. Yes.
Do you feel happy? Is that how you feel?
Yes, I think happiness, I always think, how do you define happiness? And if you ever really got there, how would you know that you are there? Yes, look, there's nothing in my life that makes me unhappy. So I guess I am happy.
Yeah.
Kids are doing well. I love my family life. Everyone's healthy. I am happy.
Yeah.
I'd like more balance in terms of work life, but that will come because I'm working towards that.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally speaking, life is pretty good.
Yeah, cool. I want to be a mother, but I don't want. I remember I'm quite a stubborn person, and a number of times people would say to me, "Oh, you just need to wait till your children grow up." I'd be like, "I don't want to wait. What do you mean I have to wait?"
Yeah.
And I get it. Like,
Yes,
you
yes.
you got to prioritise and find a balance. But I just remember going, "Oh, well, I don't know if I want to do that."
Yeah.
Or, and that's probably when I sort of really started getting more of an interest in women's issues of going, actually, now I'm starting to feel it. I'd never really felt it before that.
Yeah.
It was when I did Tas Leaders, and the twins were 18 months old,
Yes.
and my daughter was 2,
Wow.
almost 3.
Yes.
That it became apparent, and actually people would never talk because it's all chat and house rules. But obviously I can talk about it. It's my own personal experience that they would remember Ali as getting towards the end of it, and having gone on a complete roller coaster ride of suddenly having people being very critical of me and my choices, of having small children at home, but committing to such an intensive leadership program, and people making actually quite frank comments to me about, don't you have children at home? And you'd be like,
oh my gosh,
don't you?
Yeah.
This is
so,
a man.
Yeah, that's right.
And suddenly realising that people were perceiving me differently now that I had children. And it was really quite interesting. And I remember saying to Craig Martin at one point, and he used to introduce me to people, oh, this is Ali, she's doing Tas Leaders. I'm saying, talk like him, how did she do this? And she's got twins, she's amazing. And I remember saying to him, pulling, was like, can you just not tell people what I do? Just introduce me as Ali and whatever. And by the time I got to the end of Tas Leaders, I remember sending him a Facebook message and saying, fuck it, you tell them what you want. I know I'm a good mum, I know I'm a good, but I realised that I was worried that people wouldn't like me or would judge me because they'd be talking about all the things I'd be doing. Oh, and she's got children. They'd be like, well, she's not a very good mother, is she? Oh
my gosh, that's dreadful. I remember that similar situation where it hit me for the first time about being a woman. I was working for the Commonwealth Bank at the time, and I was doing this accelerated management program, and my daughter was an accident, so, and I found myself pregnant. I'm thinking, oh gosh, I didn't want to be pregnant right now because, I'm going to do this pathway, I'm on a roll. And I remember a couple of the facilitators there would look at my belly and kind of think, oh yeah, she won't be here next month, because I was sort of like in my 7th month and that kind of. I thought, wow, how, if this bump wasn't here, you would look at me differently. You'd think that I was, a go-getter. But because I'm pregnant, I can't possibly be
useful,
capable. Anymore. Yeah, that's right. She's going to be home for 12 months. She can't. Yeah, what would she want to do with this? Why is she even here? Yeah. Feel the fear and do it anyway, and that's something that I've subscribed to probably since my 30s. Yeah. I mean, the worst thing that could happen if you take control is you can't blame anybody. So I think that's one of my advice is, if you really want it, go for it. The worst that can happen will lead you to where you have to be. So I do believe in faith and the journey rather than the destination. The other is around decision making, and this is certainly one that I've hammered into our teenage kids when they were growing up, is if you are faced with a major decision in your life, ask yourself 3 questions. Now I've forgotten what it was. Ask yourself 3 questions. Does this feel right? How will my loved ones feel about this decision? And how would I feel if this was to appear on the front page of the newspaper? So it's a bit sort of like moral ethical issues as well. And if after answering those 3 questions you still can't make up your mind, I think look at an exit ramp. Not so much to take the least risk, but look at the one where you can actually reversibility, I guess is what I'm thinking of.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Has it worked with your children? Have you ever come back and said, Mum, I thought
Absolutely.
about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to see it on the front of the page.
Yeah, no, my daughter.
Yeah,
when she
great.
rings me with a thing, I said, have you done the framework? This is what I call it, the framework. Yes, Mum, this feels right. I know you won't disapprove, and it's not going to be in the front page. And that's fine. I said, well,
Yeah,
then do it.
yeah, good.
Then you have my support. Yes, I said, because if one of these 3 questions is a no, don't do it. Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah.
That's great. I might tuck that away from my
Yeah, it's for
children.
your teenagers. Yeah, that's right. Yes.
And as a blah.
Yeah, blah, no, blah, blah, blah.
So now we're just going to talk about questions and answers. Yes, thank you very much, Ella.
Cut.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yes,
Someone's going to work it out soon.